Hello, and thanks for joining us on our Scotland tour. This is a journey that I've been meaning to do for many decades and never quite got round to doing it. I love Scotland from what I remember of it as a child, basically going around and having a look. But we've been up to Scotland a few times, but not really to have a look around, so it was an idea to go and have a look at the west coast, etc. Now, the scenery, quite frankly, is fantastic. It's quite breathtaking. The weather wasn't exactly sunny the whole time that we were there, but it was still very good and makes for dramatic shots. I took a couple of cameras with me because I like doing the photography, and I think I managed to capture the bits that I wanted to do. I didn't want to stay in too many touristy areas, although we did end up going in a few, but I wanted to try and capture the natural beauty. North Berwick was our first stop. Wendy's Auntie Morney put us up in Portseaton, which is where she lives, and that's a fantastic location. It's nice, it's got a natural harbour, and it's just a really nice place to come to be honest with you. It's quite windy, there's not a lot of people around, so it's not a particularly heavy touristy area, and I managed to get some photography done, which is what I originally came out to do, capture it all for myself. And basically it's just a fantastic place to go to, and you can park in places as well. It's amazing. It's unlike anything like London or England, wherever you go to. There's not much in the way of parking restrictions and things, so it makes this sort of creativity very, very simple for me. So these are some of the stills that I managed to capture of North Berwick. I managed to position the camera quite high up so it's looking down across the bay, which is quite nice. Was reasonable weather-wise there. A little bit windy still, but I suppose it is the seaside at the end of the day. But I did manage to get some help to get my camera gear up here, which is quite nice for a change. And the view from behind is a place called Bass Rock, which in previous years has been used as a monastery, a prison colony, and a lighthouse. It's a huge boulder literally sticking out of the Firth of Forth, and what a magnificent place, but home now for over 150,000 birds. Now, the first stop, which was just up the road literally from Edinburgh, was North Queensferry. Now, this village is quite spectacular. They have quite a lot of cruise ships and ferries and what have you come into it, but it's home of the Forth Bridge, which was one of the things that I wanted to photograph. There's loads of photographs on the Forth Bridge which are quite nice, but I wanted to capture it myself, and there's quite a few other bridges around nearby as well. But the village itself is absolutely fantastic. What a great place to go. So you're going to be stuck with quite a few pictures of the Forth Bridge at various angles, various heights, and it is quite intimidating how large this thing is. But what a fantastic place to go. We managed to catch up with a friend of ours called Mark there. This bridge has been designated by UNESCO for World Heritage, and it's quite spectacular, as are the other two bridges nearby, which you can see in the background. Well worth a look if you've never been there before, and what a great place to go to have a bite to eat or a drink. So here we go, the Kelpies. This was another location, never heard of it before, but it was on our way out to another part of the country. I was told to have a look at this. Now, how can you turn down 30-metre high horses' heads? This is a sculpture by a chap called Andy Scott for the region, and they are fantastic. They are stunning in their size and their scale, and against the backdrop of the sky when I was underneath them, I thought they looked fantastic. There's a whole visitor centre to tell you about the way these horses were treated, typical canal boats, etc. And they ushered in, probably helped with the industrial revolution, because they were taken over by trains and other forms of transport eventually. But they were, this is a sort of homage to how they helped the country move along, really. These large horses pulling canal boats up and down the canals. And what a fantastic way to pay that tribute to. It's just such a stunning statues. I've never seen anything like these. They're brilliant. And Arrochar was our next base of operation, and what a fantastic location on the banks of Loch Lomond, and facing the peak which is called the Cobbler directly across us. What a fantastic location. Now, Wendy had organised all of the places that we stayed in based on where we were going to be touring around, and they were all fantastic, to be honest with you. I mean, just look at that view across there. And we're going to use this location from here to have, well, the next day, our waterfall day, because there's lots of waterfalls to be seen and photographed. So on to those. And here we go, waterfall day. The first set of waterfalls that we went to see was a destination called the Falls of Falloch. This one's just off the A82, and you do have to walk up a path, basically, once you park in the car park, to actually get to the falls, although you can hear the waterfalls from basically as soon as you walk up the path a little bit. There are various destinations that you can stop at to photograph, but if you carry on to the very top, you'll get the pictures that we've seen here. But there are other ones off to the right of this that, if you can get down without falling in, would probably make great photos as well. The next one's a bit further up in Killin, is the Falls of Drochart. I tried to do a Scottish accent there, but it never works out, to be honest. This is fantastic. Just positioned off the side of the road, as you can see a bus there going on. What a view, and there's quite considerable areas that you can walk down to, get low with your camera and have a look. Here's me trying to do my drone, my pound shot drone kind of view with my gimbal here. There you go, that's a drone noise. But yes, spectacular. You can walk down to quite close to the water's edge. Lots of noise going on here from the waterfall, which is fantastic. And there's a few people around trying to take photos and things as well, but realistically I had to carry a tripod, camera, bag, lenses, ND filters, etc. But it was worthwhile. Just be careful you don't slip, really. That's about it. There's Wendy trying to get some photos there, but what a spectacular sight. I mean, I'm not used to this coming from London. We don't see things like this nearby, and it was just absolutely fantastic. Just look at it, it's brilliant. So here we go, and these are the stills that I managed to take, having wandered down to the water's edge. It took a while to find a nice place to actually set up camera, but once I did, I got a few good pictures. These are fairly long exposures. I had stacked quite a few ND filters on top to get these, actually, because it was quite bright on the day. But as you can see, the effects with them is well worthwhile. I got some nice photos, very pleased with that. I've got a few more that I'll do, but I'll be putting those on the website because you get the benefit of having the resolution on that. So here we go, and the next stage was the Pitlochry Dam. Now this is a hydroelectric dam, and it was designed basically so as not to interfere with the salmon migrations, and it has a ladder off to, if you just wait for the next picture, off to the right hand side here, which apparently has got quite a few chambers in it for the fish to enable them to swim through without being churned around by the impellers basically for the dam. Seems like a good idea. The river itself is quite beautiful, quite clear, as you can see from this photo, and if you're looking at the dam, looking away from it, away from the ladder, the sights are stunning with the rolling hills, the greenery, and we arrived on a really nice day. The ND filter gives the extra blue effect there that we've got on there as well, but it was still a very nice day and well worth having a look at. A bit too touristy for me, to be honest with you. There's there's a visitor centre, there's a car park, etc. But we were recommended to come and have a look, and I would have liked to have gone down, if I only had more time, as always. Would have liked to have gone down and take some photographs from the banks itself, I think. So, here we are, Queensview. Now, when I first parked up here, I remarked to Wendy that this doesn't look quite as spectacular as I thought it would be, but this is from the car park in it, and you have to walk a little bit uphill before you get to the better views. But I'm only saying this because I'd now gotten spoilt by some of the epic views that we were seeing. Anyway, as you climb up to, I suppose it's the visitors' mess, really. It's a huge platform, obviously with railings on it to stop people like me falling off when they're leaning over. Anyway, there's some quite spectacular views here. Wasn't too many people here. I don't think we were in the height of the season yet. But this is named apparently after a visit that Queen Victoria did in 1860 odd. She remarked it was a great place and thought it was named after her. But there's also the off chance that it might have been named after King Robert the Bruce's wife, Queen Isabella, some 500 years odd earlier. Who knows? What I do know is it's a spectacular view from the top. You get to see down into valleys. Everything's green and lush with a lovely blue loch. I think it's Loch Tunnel, I think it might be. And you know, I mean, just look at that picture. You can see across on it, and it is absolutely fantastic. Everything looks greener in Scotland. We've got quite a lot of greenery here in Kent, but everything looks greener in Scotland. I don't know whether it was just me being excited or not, but everything looked greener. Anyway, this is the I was looking to the right, which I believe would have been a westerly direction here. I'm not entirely sure. I didn't bring a compass with me, so I don't know. But it's, I mean, you just look down this serpentine loch that's down there, and it is just such a fantastic view with the banks of the valley on the other side. Great place to visit anyway. Loch Goil. Now, unfortunately, the weather really wasn't with us this morning. It was a long drive up from Arrochar, not long in the way of distance, but because the road was a single lane road with passing places in it, and it was quite a chore to get here. But looking at it, it would have been quite spectacular. I really didn't get out to take too many photos on this particular trip. Purely because every time I got out with the camera it started to rain a bit more, and once you get dots of rain on the lens you just don't get decent pictures basically. So we had a bit of a walk around, which was quite nice on the beach, so to speak. We watched lots of kids out in canoes learning how to kayak, which was absolutely brilliant. I mean, you can't beat that, can you? When you've got this kind of landscape in front of you with water, that's what I would want to be doing if I was a kid as well. But a great venue, and it's again very, very green. There is a castle called Carrick Castle on the coastline somewhere. I can't recall seeing it, but there again we didn't go all the way around. And it's quite interesting that they call the village Loch Goil Head, because it's the head of the loch, I suppose. But the loch's interlinked with a few other lochs here, and this one actually goes out to sea as well. Probably if you have to go down a few lochs to get there. But really nice to see. It's just a shame it wasn't in better weather, really. I would have loved it even more. Loch Lomond, or Lomond, depending on how you say it, but let's not start a fight over how we pronounce that. I was trying to avoid that literally every time I said it, because it seemed to brass off certain other people. Anyway, here's a dummy trying to set up a camera. That would be me, and just got out of the car, having got back from Loch Goil. Now, the weather looked better when we were driving across, as always. However, literally, and I mean literally, as soon as I set the camera up on the tripod, taken my filters out of boxes and put them on the lens, it started to spit again. Was I put off by this? No, I wasn't actually put off by this. I was put off when the wind started to pick up as well. However, I did get fed up of trying to clean the lens or trying to keep the lens dry from drops of water, and I did manage to get a few pictures, and it is quite spectacular, but not so much on just a featureless grey sky. I did manage to get some decent photos though, and as you can see here, a certain person is using a gimbal camera to try to... I honestly, I don't know what was going on here. I did ask Wendy to try and take some video footage of the thing, and at this point here, watch as I perfectly reasonably try to mansplain how to get that pan shot drone view that I've been doing all the way through this one, and she's not biting. But you know, we did try to do that, and at this point here, I was getting a bit miffed. Not with the mansplaining, I never get tired of that apparently, but just with the rain, and it was just frustrating what I'd come out to do with my photography. But you know, sometimes it goes that way. I was after some clear skies so I could do some night photography. Was hoping to catch the Milky Way in some really dark skies, but they never cleared. The whole time we were out there, it never cleared. I never seem to have any luck when it comes to taking astrophotography or just night sky photography. These are some of the photos. This was taken actually from there's a shopping centre called Lomond Shores, I think it is. Lomond Shores, sorry, whichever way that's pronounced. And this is literally the area around it. Here you go. This is a lens that I haven't cleaned earlier, and this happened in the space of a few seconds. And there we have another photo where I've just managed to clean the lens off for a little bit. This is overlooking one of the jetties, and this would have looked quite nice, I think, as a night sky lit up or a twilight sky lit up. Unfortunately, we didn't come back. It just kept raining, so we didn't bother with it. Yes. So this is the beach area with the tide out of Loch Lomond. Where we were staying is literally to my left at this point of the picture, and this is strange enough called Loch Lomond, but it's actually quite a long loch. Apparently it goes quite deep, just a few feet out from here. I don't know how deep, I didn't actually go into it. But we've got the Cobbler, which is the big peak directly opposite here. When I walked across the beach, it was particularly slippery with lots of seaweed on rocks here. Quite the ice rink, to be honest. So I was walking across with camera, tripod, camera gear, and this is early in the morning, so there wasn't many people out. But just look at that scenery. This is the thing that strikes me about Scotland. I've been to the Alps, and you get very spectacular scenery there. It's just different. You don't get as much greenery, and because the peaks are not quite as high as the Alps, about a quarter of the height in actual fact, I think, you get more greenery growing up the sides of the mountains, essentially, and the mountains tend to be steeper here. They are a lot taller in the Alps, but these ones, as you're driving down the road, you can't see them through the tops of the windows because they're so steep. Really worth a visit. I decided to go out early in the morning before breakfast and just get this video shot. I was going to take some photos, but to be perfectly honest, the photos it started to rain again, a little bit again, so they didn't come out too well. But what a spectacular view. It'd be nice if you're a kid and you had a kayak or so to come out and do this in the morning or the afternoon, or God forbid if you have some really nice weather, just spend the entire day out there. I would. So, this is a train trip I'd been waiting for. I don't mind watching Harry Potter films. I've been made to watch them all now, and quite entertaining though they are. There are a few spectacular bits. One of them is the train ride to Hogwarts, which is actually done along this particular bridge. It's the Glenfinnan viaduct, I think it is. It's an arched bridge which looks quite spectacular. I couldn't stop off and take photos of it. Did try to get some on the way back, but it was raining. And there is a viewers area that you can actually take photos from. It would probably look better higher up if you can get the photos, but we didn't really get the chance to do that. So we planned this train ride, and we arrived at Fort William to get on the train, and it was raining all the way to Glenfinnan, more or less. The windows were wet and steamed up, so we couldn't see a great deal out of it. And then suddenly it cleared and the weather improved hugely, which actually looks quite nice here in these pictures, which it was by then. And managed to get some video footage with the gimbal and the camera, and the best bits, to be honest, were taken inside on the train ride, because this has some pretty spectacular views, this railway, as it goes through its route. It's about 20 miles long, I believe. It might be 40 miles long. It takes a couple of hours each way. You go there, you have an hour and a half or so when you get to Maillaig, which is a beautiful place, and then you jump back on the train and come back the same way. It doesn't go particularly fast. I think it averages about 20 miles an hour, so if you ride a cycle you'll probably go pretty much the same speed if you ride at a regular pace. This area of the world is fantastic if you like cyclotourism. The roads are pretty good, there's plenty of room on them, and if it's not for the weather, because it was quite windy when we were there, we saw lots of cyclotourists actually pushing their bikes because of the wind. This is the bridge. I don't know whether you remember it for the film, because it had more of an upward view taken from the drone or a helicopter. But it is quite spectacular, but more importantly, the mountains behind it, the greenery and the rugged landscape is just something to behold. And you've got these beautiful lochs in between everything, which you can see water heading out, and a lot of these lochs actually head out into the North Sea, I believe, North Sea, Irish Sea. But yes, you can get in here. It is quite a spectacular view. Apologies for the reflections and things. This was taken inside the train. This was the actual train that took us there. It's not Hogwarts Express, I did ask. And it's always good fun actually to get on a steam train. I've done it a few times now, and it's well worth it. They are quite spectacular to be on. Right, so we're now heading over to Skye. Along the route there's some quite spectacular roadside scenery. I decided to stop as often as I could, to be honest, to take photos of these sort of high roads that we were using, and quite frankly they are amazingly spectacular. I mean, look at that. This is at the side of a road. You can stop here, by the way. It's pretty wet on this side, and there was a couple of people camping just a little bit further on the road. I think there might have been walkers or cyclotourists as well. and they just decided to stop out literally in the area that I just filmed, a little bit further on, set up camp there for the evening or the afternoon. I don't know which, to be honest with you. It was a little bit further down the road where we stopped. It was very rugged, quite wet, and also the wind had picked up, so it was quite, yeah, I wouldn't have liked to have been riding a bike along that road, to be honest, personally. It would have been hard work to stay upright and stay in a chosen lane that you'd picked, but some people are hardier than me as far as cyclotourism goes, or maybe they just had to go carry on with their journey. But look at the views. This is literally where we parked up at the first bit, which we'd videoed, and I'm taking the shots from literally the back of the car, standing at the back of the car. And it was a nice blue sky, a bit windy, nice blue sky though, and you just got this beautiful reflected blue light from the sky, caught by the lake, and also with the ND filter on the camera as well helped. And this was looking out a little bit further on down the road, which is, I mean, just look at that, that's spectacular, isn't it? Eilan Donan. Now, this was a touristy one that I definitely wanted to see for myself. I've seen pictures of this when we were planning the trip, and I knew it was going to be a great one to photograph. There are literally hundreds of photographs of this particular castle on the internet, but I wanted to get my own ones and do them my own way. Now, this is one that I think I'll come back to do. I want to do an evening shot of this one day, but look at that scenery across the loch. Forget the car park, but across the loch was just superb. And there's me doing my best pan shot drone view with the low start and the high up bit. I like that particular shot myself, but look at that spectacular view across there. The castle itself dates back quite a few hundred years, and I would imagine in any decade or century that's always been a spectacular view. Quite a busy place, quite a few films made there. Highlander, the first one was made there, the opening scene where they're going across the bridge. I think there's a Bond film, I can't remember which one it was, but apparently it was MI6 headquarters, and it had a couple of aerials tacked onto it post-production. But still looks absolutely fantastic. And here's some of the stills that I took. Again, long exposures with quite a lot of ND filter on the front lens to bring out the blues. But that's just spectacular. And when I get a chance to, I'll make a big frame picture of this one as well to put it up somewhere in the house. And even this one's quite a haunting look as well, with a little bit of filter on top of it. I just loved the place, it was great. Skye, and what a spectacular place to go to. Great views from literally everywhere that you can stop. The roads have plenty of places you can stop and take photos, and if you're quite prepared to park up and walk, there are even further photo opportunities for you clambering down a bank somewhere or so. The roads are fantastic. We did see a few cyclotourists on the way in, and the weather wasn't bad on the way in, actual fact, but it got considerably worse and the wind picks up. And it would have been quite difficult because we saw quite a few cyclotourists and walkers struggling against the wind, which wasn't ideal, and it did get worse over the next day as well. We headed over towards Elgol. The idea was to go to Elgol and have a look at the other smaller islands, and then come back along to the Old Manor store and take some photos there. However, as we descended into the road that heads down towards Elgol, the wind was picking up quite badly. The weather closed in, so we couldn't see anything from the top of the hill, so we decided not to take the road down into the village. It was a place that I would have liked to have seen, but not on that day. It was just the weather wasn't ideal for us. This is a waterfall just in front of the Old Manor store, and this is It was spectacular. Again, the wind was affecting me. I had a heavy tripod with a heavy camera on top of it, and I was still having to hang on to it because the wind threatened to blow it over. Now, this is the Old Banner's store. It's a very famous landmark actually for the island, and it's been weathered down by wind and probably glacial movement quite a few million years back, but it makes for a spectacular view. Now, I've seen this shot with drones before, and it is quite spectacular. You can get all the way around it, which is quite nice. And this is the view from the visitor centre, essentially the road heading down towards it. Again, just spectacular views, and that's what you get with Skye. Would have liked to have had a little bit more time on Skye to get round, but more importantly, would have liked to have had some decent weather. That would have made it absolutely perfect, I reckon. Armadale. Now, Armadale was a place to stay, that's for sure. What a beautiful view. I mean, just take a look at this at the bottom of where we were staying. There's a bit of a drop actually, it's about 40 feet or so down there, so I didn't actually want to slide off the side of this, but the view is absolutely spectacular. And that there is Armadale's port, which the ferry runs from Maillaig to Armadale from there, and you can get back to Fort William, which is what we did. We actually caught the ferry, which was a little bit choppy actually, I must say, but the venue was great. We had a good walk around whilst we were there that evening, which was quite nice to do. There's quite a few shops actually on the ferry road that do bespoke things like clothing, artwork, craft work, so it's definitely well worth a look along there because it was quite good. Nothing was open when we were there, unfortunately, but that's a photo that Wendy took, which is absolutely fantastic. It has been edited post, but the basic picture was really, really nice. I wish I'd got it, to be honest. And here we go, Plockton. Now, this particular picturesque place was the site of another TV series called Hamish Macbeth. They filmed quite a lot around here apparently, and rumour has it that Robert Carlyle bought a house in the area himself, so impressed he was with it, and it is a beautiful place to go to. We managed to take some stills and some video here, which I managed to do with a Sony bridge camera actually, that I had with me. It still had some ND filters that I could use with it, and I managed to get some great photos. I think it takes a while to get there. It's another one of these places with a road that's very narrow, goes up and down, and there's a few overtaking places in it, and it's quite potholey actually, but well worth a visit if you can get to it. It's just beautifully spectacular. Now, on the way out from Plockton, we managed to get some photos, just basically stopping and seeing along the lochs that we were driving to. At this particular point, we're now heading back towards Edinburgh, so I managed to snatch a few photos. If you want to see more photos that I've done, you can have a look at my website, which is imagepixie.co.uk. I'll be posting a lot more photos up there, and you'll get the proper resolution on the photos as well. Some of them don't look as good as they could do on the video work. But thanks for watching the video. It's been quite nice to be able to take you along and show you the views and things. And if you have any questions, you can leave me either messages on the YouTube channel, or you can probably drop me a line via the website as well, imagepixie.co.uk. Thanks a lot. Bye.